Hi everybody! We're reading a new book today in lesson 22 and starting a new unit on one of my favorite characters named Jamaica. So we'll see what we can learn in this unit. So the first book we're reading today is called Jamaica Tag Along. So what I'd like you to do is take a look at this cover and think about, what do you think this book is going to be about? Called Jamaica Tag Along. So maybe you pause the video here if you want to keep talking, but maybe you're talking about, you notice that there's two children here and they're looking at each other. Now they have interesting expressions on their faces, don't they? Looks like there's some complicated things happening, some strong feelings maybe happening. Well, let's see. Let's think. What might the author's purpose be in this book? We're going to keep going with author's purpose through the next few units, so make sure you're really thinking about that. And just to remind you, the author's purpose could fall into three categories. Maybe they're trying to entertain us. It's just for fun, just to enjoy it. Maybe they're trying to teach us something, or maybe they're trying to convince us to think, feel, believe, or do something. You know, maybe... Well, we'll see. We'll read it and find out, okay? So these two characters we're going to see in the other books we're reading in this unit. This is Ozzy and his sister Jamaica. Now, as you can tell, it's called Jamaica Tag Along. So do you know what tag along means? To tag along means to go along with people when you maybe weren't exactly invited. So it's not anything bad. It's not like you're doing something wrong, but you didn't really have permission and you want to be included, but maybe the people don't want you there. It's hard to tell if the people want you there or not, but tagging along means you weren't invited. So we're going to read a little bit. We're going to stop at a couple places to talk about some of the words that are tricky, and then I have a little bit of work to do and we're done. So let's go. It's called Jamaica Tag Along, and it's by Juanita Javil, and she has written a lot of really great books for kids. Jamaica Tag Along. And I'm realizing she probably doesn't pronounce her name Javil. She might. It might be Javil. Depends which language she uses at home. Jamaica ran to the kitchen to answer the phone, but her brother got there first. "It's for me," Ozzy said. Jamaica stayed and listened to him talk. "Sure," Ozzy said. "I'll meet you at the court." And by court, he means like basketball court. Ozzy got his basketball from the closet. "I'm going to shoot baskets with Buzz." "Can I come too?" Jamaica said. "I don't have anything to do." So maybe you can be thinking about, what would you do if you were Ozzy and your little sister asked to come along? Jamaica, call up your own friends. Everybody is busy today. I don't want you tagging along. "I don't want to tag along," Jamaica said. "I just want to play basketball with you and Buzz." "You're not old enough. We want to play serious ball." So by serious ball, he means they want to play like a real game, and I'm wondering if maybe he thinks that because she's little, she can't really play the same way they can. Ozzy dribbled his basketball down the sidewalk. Jamaica followed at a distance on her bike. Buzz was already at the school court shooting baskets with Jed and Maurice. She parked her bike by the bushes and crept to the corner of the school building to watch. "That's not fair," Jamaica thought. "Maurice is shorter than I am." Pum, 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 pum. The boys started playing, Ozzy and Jed against Buzz and Maurice. So I don't know if you're starting to think about what you think might happen next, but that's really good when you're reading a book to already be starting to think, what might she do? What might they do, right? What might happen next? Jamaica sneaked to the edge of the court. Maurice missed a shot and the ball came bouncing towards her. Jamaica jumped. "I've got the ball," she yelled. "Jamaica!" Ozzy was so surprised he tripped over Buzz. They both fell down. Now remember, she followed him to the court at a distance, so she was far behind him, so he didn't even know she was there. So that's why he said Jamaica, and if you see here, it's got an exclamation point. So he's really surprised to see her. "Jamaica!" Ozzy was so surprised he tripped over Buzz. They both fell down. Jamaica dribbled to the basket and tossed the ball. It whirled around the rim and flew out. "I almost made it," Jamaica shouted. "Can I be on your team, Ozzy?" "No, N-O, Jamaica. I told you not to tag along." "It's not fair. You let Maurice play." "We need 2 on a team. Why don't you go play on the swings and stay out of the way?" "I still think it's not fair." Jamaica walked slowly over to the sand lot. Now I want you to look really closely at Jamaica. I'm going to move the picture close to the camera, and I want you to think about, how do you think Jamaica is feeling, and how do you know? I want you to talk to me about what you see in the picture that shows you how Jamaica's feeling. So maybe pause the video here and talk about that. So what I notice her shoulders are slumped. So sitting up tall, and then this is slumping. Your shoulders kind of curve over. Her shoulders are slumped. Her head is kind of down. That's another signal of how she's feeling. Her eyebrows are down. Her eyes are down. Her hands are just draped in front of her. So all of her body language is communicating she's really feeling sad, feeling left out, disappointed, maybe even hurt. She started to swing, but a little boy kept walking in front of her. His mom should keep him out of the way, Jamaica thought. She looked up and saw a woman pushing a baby back and forth in a stroller. Jamaica sat down in the sand and began to dig. She made a big pile with the wet sand from underneath. She scooped sand from the mound to form a wall. "Berto, help!" said the little boy. He sprinkled dry sand on the walls. "Don't," said Jamaica. "You'll just mess it up." Jamaica turned her back. She piled the wet sand high. She made a castle with towers. She dug a ditch around the wall. Jamaica turned to see if Berto was still there. He stood watching. Then he tried to step over the ditch, and his foot smashed the wall. "Stay away from my castle," Jamaica said. "Berto," the woman pushing the stroller said, "leave this girl alone. Big kids don't like to be bothered by little kids." So I want to pause here. What are you thinking now? Do you have a prediction about what might happen next? Do you have a reaction to what that woman said? Pause here and we'll come back together. So she said, "Berto, leave this girl alone. Big kids don't like to be bothered by little kids." "That's what my brother always says," Jamaica said. She started to repair the castle. Then she thought, but I don't like my brother to say that. It hurts my feelings. Look at how her expression is changing on her face now. Her eyebrows are up a little bit. Her head is up a little bit more. It's like we can see her feelings changing in the pictures. Jamaica smoothed the wall. See, Berto? Like that. You can help me make a bigger castle if you're very careful. Jamaica and Berto made a giant castle. They put water from the drinking fountain in the moat. Wow, said Ozzy when he was done. Wow, said Ozzy when the game was over and the other boys went home. Need some help? If you want to, Jamaica said. Jamaica, Berto, and Ozzy worked together on the castle. Jamaica didn't even mind if Ozzy tagged along. So take a moment here. We're going to talk about the story. So take a moment here, pause the video, and talk about what are you thinking about the book now? So hopefully you just pause the video and discuss that question. So I know I'm thinking about how funny it was that Ozzy had something happen. Ozzy had an interaction with Jamaica, and then Jamaica had almost the same problem with Berto. So it's kind of like two parallel stories. That's always what hits me first when I read this story. Now, we paused to predict what might happen at the end. Did you guess correctly? Did you think that Jamaica was going to have a different activity that Ozzy would join? Because I know that's not what I thought would happen. I thought maybe Ozzy would change his mind and include Jamaica. But instead, Jamaica included Ozzy, which is kind of a funny flip. So let's think about the author's purpose now. What do you think the author was trying to do? What is Juanita Havil trying to do? Is she trying to just entertain us? Is this just for fun? Is she trying to teach us information about something? Or is she trying to convince us to do, say, or think something? Talk about that and then come back. So if we are going to think about the author's purpose of this book, it's also connected up with understanding the genre too. So I'm going to start there and then go back to that question. So we used this before. This was a story, right? There were characters, different things happened in order. This was a story. So that means this falls somewhere here on this chart of narrative forms of writing. So basically, we have to just start by thinking, okay, was this nonfiction teaching us information, or was it fiction that's not real? So I agree with you. It was fiction. It was a story. It wasn't all about teaching us about someone or a place, right? It was just a story of some characters. So that means it's one of these fiction narrative forms of writing. And I'm going to help you narrow it down because there's a bunch here. It's not sci-fi. It's not fantasy. There was no mystery. It wasn't historical. It wasn't teaching us about a time and a place different from where we are now. It wasn't traditional literature. There was no folk tales or fairy tales, right? So that means it was either fiction or realistic fiction. So I want to make sure I've taught you about realistic fiction. So this is a realistic fiction genre, which means although this is a made-up story, these are not real people, it seems like it could be real. Everything that happened in here is a realistic thing that could really happen in a real person's life, right? People really go to the basketball courts. Little sisters really want to tag along with their older brothers. I know I did. I wanted to tag along with him all the time, and he never wanted me to come along. So parts of this always definitely seem like they could be real. So that means this story was made to be realistic fiction and seem like a real place, real people, okay? So now, if we know that it's realistic fiction, let's go back to this question of author's purpose. So did Juanita Havil write this just to entertain us, just for fun? Was she writing it to teach us information about something? Or was she trying to convince us of something, make us think, feel, believe, or do something? So I feel like it's kind of a mixture of those things. I gave you time to talk about it. So I feel like, although this is a really fun story and beautiful to read, I feel like there was almost a bigger reason why Juanita Javier wrote this story. Did you get the sense of that? Did you get this sort of lesson she was trying to teach us? If you haven't talked about that, pause here and talk about what was the lesson? What was she trying to teach us? What did she want us to learn from reading this story? So hopefully you just talked about that question. What did Juanita Javier want us to learn? So now let's talk about what I think and share my thoughts with you. So I feel like there was a bigger lesson in here. It wasn't just for fun. It was a little bit more than that. Ozzy did not include Jamaica, and that made her feel really sad and unwelcome. And so she brought that sort of feeling into the sandbox where she was not inclusive with Berto and made Berto feel bad. And then there was this moment when things switched, when the mom said, big kids don't like to play with little kids. And this is where she realized, she made a big realization here. That's what my brother always says, Jamaica said. She started to repair the castle. Then she thought, but I don't like my brother to say that. It hurts my feelings. And then on the next page, that's when she starts to include Berto. So I feel like there's lots of ways you could look at it. The way I'm looking at it, my opinion, which might be different from yours, and that's okay. My opinion is about really how it feels to include others. And we noticed that because Jamaica included Berto so nicely, it made Ozzy want to include himself also. So he came over and joined. So including others is a really powerful thing, and it makes other people want to join, and then that good spirit spreads. So when Jamaica was not included, she left and she spread that not including when she went to the sandlot, right? She didn't want to include Berto because she wasn't included. But once she included Berto, it made others want to join. So however you treat others, it kind of spreads. If you include people, it's going to make them include other people, and then that spreads. If you don't include people, then that makes them not want to include other people, and that spreads. So I feel like there's this message about the power of including others and making other people feel good and how that spreads to the world. So that's one Jamaica Tag Along and the lesson we're meant to learn from that story. So I wish I could hear your thoughts because these books are really thought-provoking, but we do have 2 more coming. I will have some activities and ideas for you after the 3rd one in this unit. So I'll see you next time. Bye.